Okay, so in last class we studied that plant needs carbon dioxide for photosynthesis and plant needs water for photosynthesis. Okay, and today we will learn about another raw materials other than CO2 and H2O. So these two material plants need for photosynthesis, okay, or production of food. Okay, plant needs this. So these plant gets directly from atmosphere, and there are some other raw materials. There are some other raw materials which plants get from soil. Okay, so these raw materials are some minerals, and these raw materials which are minerals which are present in soil, so these are better we can say essential nutrients. Okay, so these essential nutrients, there are so many nutrients which are essential, okay, which are very important for plant to grow. So these are nitrogen and phosphorus. Okay, third one is iron and magnesium. Okay, so these are the essential nutrients which plant get directly from soil. So as I told you that the primary product of plant is glucose, and after glucose plant produces so many other type of products like fat and protein. Okay, so we know that nitrogen is a very essential part which is present in DNA, and phosphorus is also present in protein, so it contain phosphorus. Okay, let me revise this. Let me revise this. We studied that plant need carbon dioxide and water for photosynthesis. Plant use these carbon dioxide and water, and plant absorb these carbon dioxide and water from atmosphere, okay, directly. So these two material, carbon dioxide and water, are directly they plant absorb them directly from atmosphere. But other than these CO2 and H2O, there are some other materials which are useful for plants for their life, for the production of many other substances, and to maintain their activities or to maintain their life processes. So these are known as raw material, and raw materials are generally taken up by soil, and these are known as essential nutrients. So the most essential nutrients are nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, and magnesium. Okay, these are the raw materials, and we studied that other than glucose, glucose is a primary plant product which is produced in the process of photosynthesis. Other than these, fat, proteins, and carbohydrates are also produced. Okay, these are also produced. And for example, I am let me inform you that the phosphorus is very important part which is present on protein. So phosphorus is present in protein. So plant produces glucose, fat, protein, and starch. Okay, so these are the essential elements, and these essential elements are uh, used for making of many other plant products: fat, protein, carbohydrate, starch, and they are also used for so many reactions. As we say that there are so many reactions which are not possible without magnesium. Okay, so magnesium is the most essential thing to conduct various type of reaction in plants and animals. Okay, so right now we are studying about plants. So these, and other than these, there are so many other elements which are present other than these. Okay, these are just only four, so there are so many other elements which are absorbed by plant from soil. So as we know that Nitrogen is also protein. Phosphorus is present in protein, and nitrogen is also part of protein. Okay, so let me tell you about nitrogen. Okay, so this is phosphorus and the protein. Okay, both are phosphorus and nitrogen both are product of protein, present in protein. Okay, so as we know that nitrogen is very essential part, and our atmosphere is having 78% of nitrogen. Okay, the amount of nitrogen gas is 78%. So the plant, this is our plant. Okay, this is our plant. Okay, and there is 78% nitrogen in our atmosphere. So a plant cannot take these nitrogen directly, like this is the nitrogen gas. Okay, nitrogen gas is present in atmosphere. Okay, and plant cannot take it directly. Okay, it is not possible for a plant to take nitrogen directly. Despite of this, okay, plant can take up these nitrogen directly from soil. Okay, what we studied, all the elements or the nutrients or all of the minerals. Okay, nitrogen, phosphorus, iron, magnesium, calcium, sulfur. Okay, there are so many nutrients. Okay, our book describes about these four. Okay, so all of them are taken up by plant by directly from soil. So the nitrogen is most abundant element which is present on our earth. 70 to 78% of air contain nitrogen. So plant cannot take this nitrogen directly. It takes this in the form of soil. So what happens exactly? What happens exactly, that this is a plant. Okay, and the nitrogen is present in atmosphere in very abundant amount, numerous in much amount. Okay, and when there is a rain, okay, there is lightning. Okay, there is rain and lightning. You maybe you studied about this in some small classes. So as there is lightning, okay, so the nitrogen comes down. Okay, the nitrogen comes down when there is rain and when there is lightning. So this nitrogen comes down, and some bacteria which are present in soil. Okay, now this nitrogen is present in soil because due to lightning and due to rain, this comes down. Okay, and this is atmospheric nitrogen. We know that an atmospheric nitrogen is unacceptable by plant or unabsorbable. Okay, so we can write that atmosphere nitrogen is unabsorbable. Okay, so this come down and these bacteria come this nitrogen, change this nitrogen. This bacteria changes this nitrogen, it modifies this nitrogen. Okay, so it change the nitrogen in the form of other nitrogen compounds like nitrates and nitrites. Okay, that is NO2 and NO3. Okay, so this is how, and now this form is absorbed by plant. Okay, so these nitrates and nitrites are present in soil, and some bacteria change this the atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, so this is acceptable by plant now. So this is how plant accept nitrogen. Plant doesn't accept nitrogen directly from atmosphere, and it accept nitrogen only from soil. Okay, only from soil. So there are basically two types of nitrogen. First form of nitrogen is known as inorganic nitrogen, and second form of nitrogen is known as organic nitrogen. Okay, the inorganic nitrogen is the nitrogen which is also both cases. Okay, each and every form of nitrogen. Okay, either it is nitrates, nitrites. Okay, there are some many other forms. Okay, all of the form, any type of forms which is absorbed by plant is the root which is soil. Okay, plant cannot take this nitrogen directly from atmosphere. So basically there are two forms which are acceptable by plant. Okay, either plant is accepting inorganic nitrogen or organic nitrogen, but in both cases plant absorb this nitrogen from soil and not directly from atmosphere. So inorganic nitrogen is the nitrogen which is produced in laboratories. In laboratories, okay, in laboratories it could be NO2, NO3, okay, or some minerals, and urea. Okay, so this is inorganic nitrogen and there is no involvement of bacteria. There are so many forms which are produced in laboratory, and a plant can accept inorganic nitrogen, but there is no living thing involvement, and there is no involvement of bacteria. But this organic nitrogen, when bacteria are involved, okay, and these bacteria convert this atmospheric nitrogen. We know these bacteria convert this atmospheric nitrogen, okay, into nitrates and nitrites. Okay, so these forms are known as organic because there is a involvement of bacteria. So these are the two forms, and both of these forms are acceptable by uh, a plant to accept nitrogen. Rather than this, plant cannot accept, remember, plant cannot accept this directly. Rather than, it should be processed, this nitrogen should be processed either in laboratories or either by bacteria, by naturally or by man-made. Okay, because these process is man-made process, but in each and every condition it has to be absorbed by soil. Okay, so we just use some minerals and some fertilizers. Okay, fertilizers, use this. Okay, now I'm moving to next topic, and the topic is heterotrophic nutrition. So the part of plant is finished. Heterotrophic nutrition, we know that what is nutrition. Whatever food we eat helps us to maintain our life process, and that is known as heterotrophic nutrition. So there are so many type of heterotrophic nutrition. All of the organisms those are dependent directly or indirectly on plants are known as heterotrophic, or they cannot produce their own food. In the better sentence we can say they cannot produce their food. Okay, so it is known as heterotrophic nutrition. So there are several types of modes of heterotrophic nutrition. So right now I'm writing modes of heterotrophic nutrition. Okay, so first mode is heterotrophic nutrition is parasitic. Okay, second type is known as saprophytic, and third mode is known as holozoic. Okay, so as we know that there are different type of organisms and all of them having different modes of nutrition. If I uh, consider, or if I take an example of beer, okay, so dear, sorry, yeah, okay, so deer is a heterotrophic organism and it depends on grass. Okay, so this grass is a plant, okay, and it is stable. Okay, this grass cannot move all around or everywhere, so this is a stable source of nutrition. But if I talk about lion, okay, lion is dependent on deer, okay, and uh, deer is animal, okay, and it is movable also. Okay, so both of them are autotrophs, sorry, heterotrophs. Okay, both of them are heterotrophs. Okay, but both of them are having different type of food requirement. So this is the mode of nutrition. Okay, in the second mode of nutrition, some organism uh, take their food and digest inside. Okay, so there is two type of digestion. First digestion is inside digestion. So these two animals take their food from outside and digest their food inside. Okay, but there is another process of digestion which is known as outside digestion. Okay, some organisms digest their food before they eat it. Okay, first of all eat food and after that digest. We do this. Okay, human do this, cow do this, goat do this, deer do this, lion do this. Okay, uh, eat your food and after that digest it. But there is outside digestion, that first of all digest your food and after eat this. Okay, so which type of organism do this type of digestion process? That is known as fungi. Okay, fungi do outside digestion. So these are some examples of fungi. This is the case. Okay, you have seen this type of bread in so many times. So this is known as bread mold. Okay, this is yeast. Okay, this is also yeast. Okay, and this is mushrooms. So all of them are fungi, and the property of fungi is that fungi can grow anywhere. Okay, the best thing about fungi is that fungi can grow anywhere. Okay, so why fungi can grow anywhere? Fungi can, you can found fungi on rocks. You can find found fungi on food material. Okay, this like this. Okay, you can found fungi on your clothes. Everywhere fungi are also present your in your ear canal. Fungi can present on your scalp, that is known as dandruff. Okay, dandruff is a type of fungi. So fungi is present everywhere. So what is the reason that fungi is present everywhere? The reason behind this, that fungi first of all digest their food. Okay, first of all fungi, this is, if I consider that this is a fungi, this is a substrate means it can be a food material like bread, or it can be food material like any fruit, or it can be a wood. Okay, it can be a surface, it can be a plant, it can be anything. Okay, so what happens, that fungi comes here and you start to secrete something which is known as acid. Okay, so fungi first secrete acid. After secreting acid, fungi digest this part. Okay, this part can be wood, this part can be a tree trunk, it can be any food material like bread, it can be a cloth. Okay, it can be your scalp, which is dandruff. Okay, dandruff is a type of fungi. So first of all fungi come here and fungi secretes acid, and it digests your food, or this digest the surface. Okay, on any type of surface on which fungi is landed, and it absorb all of the material which is previously digested, we can say previously digested. Okay, so these previously digested food, so it digests food before. Okay, so this helps this fungi to stay anywhere because it doesn't need to eat food before. It digests food before by secreting acid. So the basic reason that fungi can grow each and everywhere, the reason is that acid which is secreted by fungi. So this is known as, this is known as external digestion. Okay, now we are going to move on another topic, and okay, this was our basic topic. So first of all, let me tell you about parasitic mode of nutrition. Okay, what is the parasitic mode of nutrition? In parasitic mode of nutrition, an organism survive over living organism. Means if you study about ticks, okay, generally we can say them khatmal. Okay, khatmal, lice, okay, that is known as zoom. Okay, leeches that sucks your blood, and tapeworm, they are the worm. Okay, tapeworm, they are the worms which are present inside your intestine, and both of them, leeches are present outside, they suck your blood, and tapeworms are present inside, and both of them suck blood. Okay, suck blood. Okay, and Cuscuta, which is present on plant. Okay, it is a plant parasite. Okay, plant parasite. So in this parasitic relationship, there is a very clear thing that these organisms organism are present on living. Okay, so these parasites are living and they are present on living organism. Suppose this is a human, okay, and all these ticks and lice and leeches and tapeworms are also living. So parasites are present living. Okay, so it is living over living. Both of them are living. Okay, food and predator. Okay, so food, we are their food. Okay, in a small amount, that takes suck our blood, lice also suck our blood, leeches also suck our blood, and tapeworms also suck our blood. Okay, so we are their food. Okay, we are their food directly or indirectly because they suck our blood. Okay, but we are living and they are also living. So in parasite mode of nutrition, both of them are, food is also living, and the one who is eating food is definitely should be living. Okay, so both of them are living. So it is the concept of living over living. Both of them are living, even food is living. Okay, in saprophytic mode of nutrition, we studied that in saprophytic mode of nutrition, one, okay, one food material. Okay, the food material should be dead. Okay, the food material should be dead. Okay, it should be dead, and the organism which is surviving on this or which is taking food from it, it should be living. Definitely should be living, that's why it is taking food. So in this relation, food is dead, like something which is decaying part, or we studied that this bread, okay, this bread is dead. Okay, or this bread is dead. Okay, mushroom develops, generally it can develop on living or it can develop on non-living. So when the original food material is dead, it is like some decaying or dead parts. Okay, so it is living on dead. This concept goes for living over dead. Okay, they generally eat dead parts or which is decaying parts. Okay, most of them are fungi. Most of them are fungi. Fungi are present on dead parts. Okay, and in parasite mode of nutrition, they are living. So forgot something to tell you. I forgot something to tell you. I told you about that Cuscuta, which is a plant parasite. This is the Cuscuta. Okay, it is also known as Amar bale. So you can see the green leaves and you can see the net-like structure. So the net-like structure or the mesh-like structure is Cuscuta. Okay, so this Cuscuta is a plant parasite. Okay, it is a plant parasite and it takes nutrition from plant. It doesn't do anything on its own, but it take everything from plant. Okay, now the last type of nutrition is known as holozoic mode of nutrition. Okay, in holozoic mode of nutrition, okay, in holozoic nutrition, an animal eats complex food, okay, and it digests food. Okay, it eat complex food and after that it digests this food. So this is the Holozoic mode of nutrition, and there are so many steps of Holozoic mode of nutrition, but we will study this later on. So this is Holozoic mode of nutrition, and let me give you a very small idea of Holozoic mode of nutrition. So what is exactly Holozoic mode of nutrition? This is amoeba. Okay, this is amoeba. Okay, and amoeba is having a very unusual and non-permanent structures, which are known as pseudopodia, because they are keep changing. Okay, pseudopodia. Okay, pseudo means fake and podia means legs. So these legs are keep changing. Okay, this is the structure of amoeba, and amoeba legs of amoeba are keep changing. Okay, they are fake legs, so they helps to amoeba to move and to eat food material. So this is the food material. Okay, this is the food material. Okay, so what does amoeba do? Amoeba changes its shape to take its food, so it will change its shape. Okay, over this food material. Okay, and then now the food material is like this. Okay, and by slowly this amoeba will engulf full food material by changing the shape. So these pseudopodia are like this now, and the food material is inside. Okay, they will just cover the food material. Okay, they will just, these two pseudopodia will get uh, linked together. Okay, and the food material is inside. So this is the food material. Okay, now what happen inside amoeba? There is a digestion of these food material. Okay, and the food material is get digested. Okay, and after that, after digestion, the unwanted part or the waste product which is produced in plant is get expelled from the body by the same manner, that this is the a part which it needs to be removed from the body. So it will remove this by changing the shape of its pseudopodia. Okay, so this is the unwanted food material. Unwanted means the waste product, okay, which is produced. Okay, so this is how this steps will follow, and this is how the amoeba will take its food. Okay, so this whole mode of nutrition, taking the food, okay, digestion and removal of the food. Okay, when it takes food inside, when it digests food, and when it's remove foods outside, the whole process is known as holozoic mode of nutrition. Okay, in parasitic mode of nutrition, both of organisms should be alive. If one organism is alive and one organism is dead, then this is not known as parasitic mode of nutrition. Remember, in saprophytic mode of nutrition, there is external digestion. Okay, because most of them do external digestion, and it is totally different from holozoic nutrition. There are no steps like taking food and digestion food, and after that removal of these food from body. So there it is definitely different process. But holozoic mode of nutrition is a unique, and it's one of its kind, that this process involves the take up of food, digestion of food, okay, and excretion of waste product. Okay, so this is how amoeba does this. Now this is the activity which is done by amoeba, and same type of activity, same type of taking up of food and removal of waste product is taken up by an organism which is known as paramecium. Okay, so paramecium, it is, paramecium looks like this. Okay, this is the structure of paramecium, and there is same thing. Okay, it takes food, digest food and remove food. So paramecium is an another organism, okay, which does the holozoic mode of nutrition. So there is presence of a vacuole inside them. Okay, what is this vacuole? This vacuole contain digestive juices. Okay, what does it contain? It contain, this is a vacuole. Okay, and it contain digestive juices. It contain digestive juices. Okay, which helps this amoeba. to digest food. Okay, and sometimes the vacuole could be a food vacuole in which the digested part or the food is present. So there is, it maybe the food vacuole is also present. Okay, so one vacuole can consent. What is a vacuole? Vacuole is just a vesicle, okay, which is filled. It can be filled with some enzymes, or it can be filled with food material. Okay, this paramecium can have so many type of vacuole. One vacuole which is having digestive juices inside it, or one vacuole is having food material inside it. Okay, so these both of these organisms perform same type of activity and same type of performance. Both of them perform holozoic mode of nutrition. So now I'm exactly at the mode of holozoic nutrition. Okay, so holozoic nutrition is something that you eat something. Okay, whenever we eat something, so it is known as ingestion. Okay, eating of food. After that, digestion. Okay, after that, um, absorption. What is the absorption? That whatever we eat, okay, we need to, our body needs to absorb it. Suppose you eat many nutritive things, okay, like fruits and vegetables and milk, so our body needs to absorb this. Okay, so this is absorption. After that, that is assimilation. Assimilation means to utilize the absorbed food. Utilization of absorbed food. Okay, we need to utilize it. Other than this, what is the use of eating this much nutritive food or this much nutrition rich food if you are not using it? Okay, so and finally there is excretion. So these are the 5 steps which are followed by each and every holozoic mode of nutrition. Uh, where each in every organism which follows the holozoic mode of nutrition. So humans do this. Okay, we eat food, we digest food, we absorb food, we assimilate food, and finally we excrete food. So this is the holozoic mode of nutrition. So now I'm going to tell you about, we are going to learn about, okay, that how this, we are going to learn about each and every step properly, okay, one after one. So this is our first step, okay, holozoic mode of nutrition. And in this step we are going to learn about ingestion, okay, eating of food. So how we eat food. Okay, so we know that all of us are having very similar structures, and this is our nose, and same time this is our mouth. Okay, so there is a difference between mouth and buccal cavity, don't forget this. Okay, mouth is something external and buccal cavity which is present inside our mouth. So first of all, I'm drawing, this is mouth, and inside mouth, okay, there is buccal cavity. Okay, in buccal cavity we are having two things. We are having tongue and we are having tooth. Okay, so remember that mouth and buccal cavity are two different things. Okay, from mouth we take food, and from buccal cavity there is a presence of tooth and tongue. Okay, so we take our food, and to make a similar texture, okay, or to make a texture which is essential or which is needed food to conduct downwards, okay, we use tooth, and by tooth we just break down our food in small particles and make our food very soft. And same times our tongue helps us to do this, and in our buccal cavity there is a secretion of saliva. Okay, there is secretion of saliva. So saliva is secreted by some glands which are known as salivary glands, which are present in buccal cavity. So saliva is secret, and by the help of this saliva our food is wetted. Okay, the food is wetted, and our tongue and our tooth helps us to grind our food and to make this very smooth for the easy passage. Okay, so whenever we eat something, our mouth uh, waters. Okay, so this is because of this saliva. This is a wet, watery secretion, and it is not only water. There is saliva present. So in generally we can say in saliva there is a presence of bit water, but saliva is totally something different. And in saliva there is an enzyme which is known as salivary amylase. Okay, salivary amylase. Okay, so this salivary amylase, what salivary amylase does, that when we eat several type of food, and if the food is having starch, okay, if the food is having starch, okay, so this saliva, it is having salivary amylase, okay, and this star, if we having starch in our food, generally we know that we can have fat fat in our food, we can have protein in our food, and we can have carbohydrates in our food. Okay, so if we are having starch in our food, okay, as soon as this starch come to our mouth, okay, this is the starch will come to our mouth, okay, in our food material. So when this starch get in contact with saliva, okay, the salivary amylase which is present in starch, it breaks down this starch into very simple sugar. Okay, so salivary amylase can do something that can breaks down this starch. Okay, only starch. Okay, salivary amylase has nothing to do with fat or nothing to do with protein. Okay, so it can only break down this starch, and it break down starch into small sugar. Okay, so this is the first step where digestion starts. Okay, this is the first step. So the first step of digestion starts in our mouth, and the saliva get digested, and a simple sugar is produced by the starch. Okay, so starch is not not absorbable form. Okay, by breaking of the starch, sugar is produced, and which can be absorbed by uh, our digestive system. Okay, so remember this, that saliva plays a great role, and saliva is having enzyme which is known as salivary amylase. Okay, so right now I'm finishing your class.